Hi everyone, Life Coach Carissa here. I hope you are all having a fantastic week. I really am. I just wrapped up another 2-day coaching session at a local business here in Springfield, Ohio, where I work with their team members, and I am just so inspired by all of my clients that are applying the tools that I share with them. And it is my goal to show individuals how they can improve their life in so many ways that they didn't even know was possible. And I mean, who doesn't want to enjoy each day that you have on this earth a little more? It may feel impossible to you some days, but I'm here to tell you it's not. You just haven't been given these tools, and I am an example of how applying this vast variety of tools to your life can help you up-level every single part of it. And that is my goal, to reach more people that these tools could help. They may not even know it yet, but I've got to get the message out to them. So, what I'd like to share with you today is something that I really think could be helpful to so many, and that is how to have difficult conversations. I'll be sharing why this can be difficult for us, how you can look at this in new ways, and ultimately action steps you can take to apply in your own life. So if you want to learn some tools and techniques for having any sort of difficult conversation, then stay put, as I will be sharing just that, and I will aim to break it down in very simple terms so that you can easily digest the information and move forward with applying it in any area of your life. So, having difficult conversations. I know that I struggled with this tremendously in my past. And now, having completed my coaching certification and immersing myself in how our human brain works, I have a better understanding of what is happening in my brain and how I can take my power back rather than feeling hopeless in these situations, or utilizing so much of my precious energy to follow through on a difficult situation. So I would imagine that every one of us has had to face having a difficult conversation at some point in our adult life. How difficult the conversation is really depends upon the scenario as well as the individual and what they deem to be difficult, how they view it. But what is difficult for me could be viewed as easy for someone else and vice versa. And that really doesn't matter all that much. This information could really help anyone, no matter where they fall on that spectrum. So I thought I would start with just sharing a little bit of my story in relation to having difficult conversations so that you can see if you can relate to any of these scenarios and to get your brain going a little bit, thinking about how you handle these difficult conversations. What has been your experiences so far with this? So in my former career, it was necessary for me to have difficult conversations at times, and quite often I would need to be the initiator of these. And I would dread and put off and just completely torture myself over having them. And so whether it was letting someone know that they're not complying with the policy, or, that they were not pulling enough of their load, or maybe it was just letting them know that I was needing more from them or something different from them. And this extended outside of career. So maybe it was a conversation with a friend where I wanted to be honest about a concern that I had been having because I love and care for them. Or when I had to call out a family member for destructive behavior that was really adversely affecting someone else in the family. Just like you, I have had my share of difficult conversations, and I'm sure you can recall them in your mind as well as I can. So I struggled for a large portion of my adult life in finding calm around having difficult conversations. And what I came to realize is that I know that I was not exposed to a healthy example of how to have them. Difficult conversations for me equaled confrontation and discomfort. And it was really helpful for me to recognize this, because once I decided to take charge for my emotions 100% of the time, getting more comfortable with having these difficult conversations was truly a goal of mine. I looked back in my past to see why I had the thoughts that I did about having these conversations. And after doing this process, I realized that I had never been shown an example of how to conduct a healthy, difficult conversation. So I was able to pause there and have some compassion for myself. Like, of course, this is why I feel this way. Of course, this is why I only see it this way, because I have repeated this thought numerous times, and it has been a part of my belief systems for so long that I cannot have difficult conversations without upsetting people and risk having a conversation escalate to uncomfortable levels. And I truly believed this to be a fact. But I'm telling you, it was absolutely not true. This was strictly my thought that was repeated consistently over a long period of time. So that may be one reason why you dread difficult conversations, because of what you have believed over time and experienced in your past. Another reason is that our primitive brain has a need to be right at all costs. So there is nothing wrong with you. We all have the same brain. We were never taught how to communicate without defensiveness, justification, blame, and frustration. But what does our need to be right ultimately get us? Nothing good. It gets us indulgence and gratification, but it all comes at a cost. There is no winner in a difficult conversation. Our brain wants there to be a winner in a difficult conversation. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm telling you what is right and you need to accept it, right? That's where our primitive brain goes. So, how can we evolve your thinking around having these conversations? And it starts with a big one. Let go of the need to be right. The best way to find peace in relationships is to let go of being right or wrong. If you give up the need to be right about something, you let go of the defensiveness. And defensiveness is the first act of war. So you end the war, or the war never even gets started. Ask yourself, what if I truly started the conversation willing to be wrong? I bet that one blows your mind a bit, because I know it did mine. What does that even look like? You could say, tell me why you are right about this. You cannot be defensive when you're coming from curiosity and openness by asking a question like that. Tell me why you are right about this. And if it's not a conflict-based scenario of who's right or wrong, you could ask, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. What do you want me to know about this? Tell me why this is so for you. Those are some conversation starters that you could jot down and use in your future conversations with others. And I'm telling you, you cannot be defensive when you are truly considering their side. And then importantly, let them speak. Let them tell their story. Try not to interrupt. I have been an interrupter for a big portion of my life, and I've really been working hard to stop that habit. So try not to interrupt as best as you can. Let them have their time to speak. And when they finish speaking completely, then you can reply. Because if you are interrupting, then most likely your brain hasn't really been listening, but thinking about how to respond. And there's a big difference there. This is different from truly hearing what they are saying. Now, don't be upset if you don't get the same treatment in return. Because what I am sharing here is a higher level of emotional intelligence than most of us are capable of. This is only because we haven't done the proactive work on ourselves to evolve. Be okay with them handling it differently than you are. You are the one. You will be the one to manage the difficult conversation. That is completely okay. And then next, break it down to the facts. Facts are neutral. They do not carry emotion until we have a thought about them. So recognize that the disconnect comes from each of you having a different thought about the facts. I am making this fact mean this, and you are making this fact mean this. This is why we disagree. No one is right or wrong. We just have different sentences in our brain that come from our prior experiences, our background, and our beliefs. So the opportunity here is to land in a place of curiosity and acceptance that we each have a different view, that we hold on to that rather than talk back and forth at each other. Perhaps we can brainstorm a solution on where we can move forward and get to a better place than we were before. Maybe there's something here for us to learn. Don't rush it. Not everything has to be resolved right in that moment. Let yourself be curious and learn and then contemplate. Don't feel the need to button it up and have a conclusion sometimes. So look, it takes a lot to be a person that doesn't have to be right. I understand that. It takes a person who has decided to be proactive and evolve their emotional intelligence. It takes a person that knows that you have to use your evolved brain to plan out these conversations ahead of time. It is certainly not easy because you have that primitive brain that will insist on feeling otherwise. Difficult conversations do not have to be a thing. You can decide ahead of time how you want to show up. And difficult does not even need to be a word that is associated with it. Only if you decide ahead of time that it won't be. So remember, you are not your thoughts, and you can decide that you would rather have connection, meaning more love and peace in your life, than being right. All right, everyone, if you found this content helpful, please like and share or leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. You can learn more about my coaching and the support that I offer at lifecoachingwithcarissa.com. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Take care.